And hello again. So this is another TSDL group stage review between Playfasterpls and Bakyra. So I'm going to hide the screen while we bring up the matches so that there's no spoilers for anyone. And we'll get into game one. This one's game one. Alright, so we have Bakyra player 1, Playfasterpls player 2. Oh boy, it's everyone's second least favorite map, and some people's first least favorite map. It's Floating Courtyard. This is another map that people just don't like because it's... Fun fact, this is the longest ground rush distance map in the game. This is the only map that takes all ground units 11 tiles to reach the other side, to potentially reach someone on the other side. Every other map takes 10. So, if you like to play aggressive, you probably hate this map. And that's one of the many reasons. Also, this map, it's very easy to wall off these bridges, which makes assassins significantly worse. Non-flyers are just, in general, really hard to use on this map. There's so little space to position. Meanwhile, flyers get to just kind of hang out. I've had games where I'm in an end game. I have 2 melee units, and there's an Ares on the other side. And the Ares just goes and sits in the middle of this sky terrain, and I can't do anything about it. I just have to sit there and watch, and he'll eventually come to me when the fog closes in, but I can't make him do that. It's just obnoxious. So, this is one of the maps where pick ban can change a lot just because of the map, because you just really don't want to give your opponent flyers on this map. They're so obnoxious. So, all that aside, taking a look at the boxes. So we have Bakyra playing 1 tank and no healers. So, full on rush. There's the Werner. Yep, there's the Akka. Thought I saw her. So it's a full AoE rush, specifically dark AoE. Yeah, and it's a pretty cool box. It's a pretty cool box. So we have a dark AoE rush. Tree Sage is here to basically function as a tank, try and deal with enemy rush. Play faster, please. We have also 1 tank, but we have 3 healers. So also a rush, more of a rush style, but a little bit more grounded into healers. This is a fairly popular box construction. Maybe not this one exactly, but this kind of style. Right, Breen, Kruger, Himiko. You have Elwyn and Sherry here as some single target threats. So it's not pure AoE, you have a little bit of balance, whereas Bakyra is really kind of all in on AoE. There's really just the Ares who can potentially go single target, TJS as well. So there's like 2 single target and an assassin, a couple assassins, versus a lot of flexible units, and just units that are generally good. It's basically like it's an AoE box that also has, all the good units. It's all the good units filled out with AoE. It's not a bad box. So we will see what gets picked. This Rosin's gonna get first banned. If you are Bakyra, you cannot let this Rosin pick happen. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Juglar first pick to deal with the AoE, but at the same time, if AoE debuff is not really Juglar's strongest suit, because you can't do anything about the debuffs getting landed, heal blocks just show up all over your team, and then, oh no. Alright, so we do have a Vincent ban first. I understand the Vincent ban. If you're not familiar with Vincent, Floating Courtyard is a good reason to ban Vincent. Right, flyer on Floating Courtyard, just obnoxious. We just talked about that. However, Vincent is countered by any healer. If you have a healer, Vincent just doesn't do anything. Yes, Error 404 is saying in chat, I 100% agree. Ares is significantly more threatening than the Vincent. So I can understand why you banned the Vincent. I don't agree with the Vincent first ban. Because basically, the way that you beat Vincent is, Octavia said it right before I could, you just don't do anything to him. You just ignore him, and he can't do anything about it. You have to kill Vincent for him to actually be threatening. Otherwise, he just dives in on you, and then you heal it all off, and then he just kind of stares and hopes that you eventually decide that you will, in fact, kill him. So yeah, I think Vincent is something that you can, maybe if it's third or fourth pick and he still is floating around unbanned, then okay, sure, ban him. But it's very hard for Vincent once your box is actually kind of well built, right? Vincent can do the same kind of thing in low elo that like Aryan Road can do, where, if you're in Silver 2 and you have a bunch of frail units, then an Aryan Road just walks into your team, 3Cs, and everyone is gone now. And Vincent can do that same sort of thing. But once you start getting some bulk on your units, that's just not going to happen anymore. And then you just heal up and proceed to ignore the Vincent, because at that point he doesn't do anything. There's the Rosin ban. Yep. Bakyra cannot let that through. So, 100% agree. Jugler pick here. Yeah. This is... Bakyra basically has to pick either Jugler or Tree Sage here, or else he's going to get run down by Ares, by Elwyn, by Sherry, because his box is not as mobile. Right, Werner's very mobile, although Werner's kind of bad on this map, but the rest of his box just doesn't have the mobility to contest some of these high range units over here, so he needs a tank to protect him, basically. Let me see, TJS and Akka get banned. Okay, fine with that. Jugler pick, sure. Royal Cav and defensive stance, one of the choke points. Yeah. That is a thing you can do. You could just put Werner on a choke point somewhere with Royal Cav. You could even use him in your wall if you're looking to wall off the front. That's a decision that you can make with Werner. Might not even be that bad depending on the scenario. I don't know. I don't use Werner myself, so I don't know how bulky he is. But I know that defensive stance gives you some damage reduction. Royal Cav's obviously pretty good. Stacking damage reduction. Maybe. Full-on healer bans. Yeah, that's... You knew that was going to happen if you're play faster, please. Right, your opponent's looking to load you up with debuffs and AoEs. So of course they're gonna ban out your healers if they can. You still have the Licorice, which with exclusive gives Leanna a run for her money for best AoE healer, is what I'll say. Might not actually beat out Leanna, but definitely gives her a run for her money when it comes to just pure AoE healing. We do see the Werner picked up just to give Bakyra some mobility. Because again, he is getting outranged here. He does need a little bit of extra help. Sherry. Not great on this map, is what I'll say. Sherry's going to have a hard time getting an act again that actually does anything, because it is so easy to wall off this front. It's going to be hard for you to use Shadow Raid to kill anything, because the two tankiest units are going to be in front that you aren't going to kill the Shadow Raid. And if they're standing side by side, then you can't melee them to get an act again. I feel like she's going to struggle on this map. In endgame, she can do a little bit more once people are forced into the center. But her early game is definitely going to suffer. Ares would have been a great pick. Well, Ares is okay into Jugler at best. Maybe not then. Kruger would have been pretty good. Tree Sage. Bakyra is just not interested in you being anywhere close to him. Licorice. Licorice, a good answer to the Tree Sage. Again, amazing AoE healer for the AoEs that Bakyra... The AoEs that we thought Bakyra was going to pick. Also good for clearing out Tree Sage tiles. So I can understand that pick. It's an AoE box, I swear. Kyra can kill the Licorice, can maybe kill the Kruger, I should say. Not killing the Sherry. Not killing the Jugler. Hey, it's our boy, it's Heinz, let's go. Everybody loves Heinz. So an immediate issue that Playfasterpls is going to run into is the Sherry doesn't have a buff. She already had limited target selection just because of the units that are here, because of the way this map is set up. The Sherry was already limited in what she could hit. Without a buff, that issue becomes even greater. Because now it's basically the only thing that Sherry's going to kill if you bring Shadow Raid is maybe Kyra. She should kill Kyra with Shadow Raid. Probably. She shouldn't kill anything else. Alright, and we see... Okay, that's boots. That's interesting. You have 15% attack and 29. Okay, yeah, that's a lot of attack for not being buffed. Yeah, I've seen buff Sherrys around that much attack. Yep, Kruger doing Kruger things. There's single target on the Ainz. Oh man, Ainz is actually pretty good on this map because he becomes a flyer. And we know how good flyers are here. GDB on this Jugler. Yeah, that is really odd. B-Shock's probably okay, right? I don't think you're never bringing Master of Ice here because you're not going any other AoEs to support it, so why bother? B-Shock gives you the opportunity to kill like maybe one of these if the scenario arises. You're probably never killing this with B-Shock, just because Steel Mains are going to keep you out. I should say troops are going to keep you out, because we'll come back to that. You're never killing this with B-Shock, there's just too much damage reduction. Right, B-Shock is good if it's not facing damage reduction. But once you start getting into damage reduction, B-Shock, your damage output drops fast. As far as troops go, Licorice on bishops to walk into the Tree Sage tiles to clear them. Yeah, that makes sense. I don't like Steel Mains here. With the exception of Werner and Jugler, if he had brought B-Shock, everything's magic damage, which Steel Mains are not good against. Lobsters will get you a lot more durability here. Yeah, especially if this is Holy Kyra. That's a lot of extra damage on the Jugler. You know, if it's Holy Kyra with Sorceresses, she can actually start looking for kills on your Jugler, which is a really awkward place to be. Tree Sage will delete you as well. Will delete your troops and do significant damage to Jugler behind them. Whereas with Lobsters, both of these are just irrelevant to you. So I like Lobsters here a lot more. There is an argument to be made for Steel Mains healing at the end of every turn, and that being a reason to bring them. However, you have Licorice, who is functioning as a pure healer this game, so you don't really need that extra healing. You should be fine without it. Right, between lobsters being tankier and you having healing, you shouldn't be in too much trouble. Heinz is good, guys. He can fly now. That's a Tenyo breeze. Interesting. So this Werner can potentially start assassinating things. Werner, though, it's so hard for him to actually find 10 tiles to move on this map. Because he can't, like, run around things very easily. 12k HP Werner. Damn, 12k HP Werner. If Werner can safely pick this construct, that's super worth it. Especially with where this construct is positioned. There could be scenarios where you can safely pick this. That is true, it's not Twilight on the Werner. That's going to cost him a lot of kills. I don't know what accessory it is. And, you know, we don't know the reason why it's not Twilight. It could be as simple as it doesn't have a Twilight. In which case, well, Werner can't be Twilight then. But yeah, not being Twilight, Werner already is very close on a lot of kills that he makes. Without Twilight, that gets even more difficult, right? Okay, Jugler positioning aggressively because there's nothing here that really threatens him. Is there just a regular breeze over here? And yeah, Werner with a Tenyo breeze gets to threaten the entire map turn 1. Fun. Have fun positioning into that. But in all honesty, you can just, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He needs to get to here to move 10. So you can just like put Jugler here and then line up behind him, and Werner can't actually reach anyone. This map is so hard for him to actually do anything. No, he can get to here. Right. He needs to get at least 10. So if you can put Jugler here and one other here, you know, if you wall off at all, then he just can't reach, he can't assassinate anymore. Yeah, Sherry can block the other spot because he can't kill Sherry. There you go. So yeah, you can literally just wall off with Sherry and Jugler and then pretend the Werner doesn't exist. We'll see if that's exactly what happens. Goodbye, Construct. You were overpositioned. Protect your Pokemon. Yeah. Gizaroth, not well known for being very relevant once Construct is dead. So you should probably be a little bit more defensive with Construct. It also looks like you were positioning Construct. Let's see. Was this just full forward? Yeah, no, this is just full yeet with the Construct. Yeah, especially with this many assassins, this Construct needs to play a little bit closer to home if it has any desire to survive. Because basically you need to make it so that if they want to pick off your Construct, they have to essentially give up their unit to do so. Right? Put it where Kyra can't actually teleport away if she kills the Construct. Can't teleport all the way away to safety or something. So your Gizaroth is actually a real person. You did burn an assassin skill here. It's like you are burning cooldowns, it's not all for naught. But this is a much longer cooldown. Faction buff for the Jugler. I would have brought an AoE here. Now that I see this faction buff happen. Jugler doesn't really need a faction buff in like almost every game, basically. Faction buff is like, it's nice to have, but Jugler really functions off of damage reduction over stats. Since you're bringing a faction buff on the Licorice anyways, and that covers Kruger Gizaroff, you don't really need Gizaroff faction buff. So you can just bring another AoE here. And then, you know, now your Gizaroff is a unit after Construct dies, because he can just, you know, he can throw out a single AoE at some point. It won't be super relevant, but it's better than nothing. Where are you going, Sherry? Where are you going, Ainz? What just happened? Okay. So, at the start of this turn, so Licorice is not at all threatened by this Werner, in the slightest. He's not killing her. So even though she's in range, she's not actually scared. And I agree with that. That's not going to work. I'm still a little bit confused as to why Sherry didn't move forward. Why Sherry's back here. As opposed to forward. You're not... Because this Sherry is just... She's not threatened by anything here. Ainz does irrelevant damage to her. Kyra does irrelevant damage to her because angels are just so incredibly good. Werner can't kill her. Again, angels are so incredibly good. And he can't assassinate her because he's too close. So this Sherry could absolutely be walling off here in order to give these units that are a little bit more scared of some of the things your opponent has available a way to actually push in. They still have to watch out for Kyra, obviously. Actually, Kyra could have gone for Kruger here. 437. That's not a Twilight. That might be a Twilight. That probably is a Twilight. You don't want to have 0 movement on her due to Jugler. So you were scared of a Jugler jump. If Jugler jumps here, what happens? So if he jumps, you can push him off with Holy Thunder. Right. So if he jumps, you can push him back and then go snipe something with 3C. You'd have to be confident that you wouldn't die to the counter, but you shouldn't die to the counter. And if you aren't confident that you live the counter, then you can just heal with Licorice first. So I don't think you really need to worry about this jump. Especially since you brought the push. First time I'm sure. Yep. Then I can't blame you for not being confident in what she can and can't do if it's your first time with her. Also, actually, because you see this is boots on the Jugler as opposed to like a swordsmith, Sherry... No, not against that defense. I was going to say Sherry might just kill him by doubling into him. Right? If you go like 3C Holy Thunder, you might just kill him. But I think you would need a buff to actually pull that off. Yeah, I think he's actually gonna. I think he would, even without being at 100%, he's still gonna wall you out pretty well. But again, you just push him off and then go kill someone else. If he does jump to lock you down. And then there was this, which seems aggressive. It seems aggressive. Because this Ainz wasn't scared of anything. There was nothing threatening him. This is basically the one AoE that Bakyra has access to. So it's not like he's setting up to do consecutive AoEs here to kill you. He just kind of yeets. I guess he's dispelling buffs. Maybe he was trying to dispel Breeze on the Kruger? But it feels like you're just killing your Ainz for not a lot of value here. Soften for Kyra. I guess if you break 100%, then Kyra can kill this Kruger. Yeah. But if this is Star, which 437 with buff is like right on the cusp for being Star. Get rid of Licorice, faction buff. Yeah, but faction buff's going to be up again soon. Again, you're killing off an entire unit here for maybe getting a kill here, maybe slowing something down here. It just seems like a lot of commitment. Again, this Ainz isn't threatened into needing to commit. And actually, going back to what we were talking about earlier, if you're trying to break 100%, which first off, you can't be hitting the Jugler if you're trying to break 100%, but you can also just do a jump, right? You have the jump as an AoE as well from a unit that's in a more threatened position, still not actually in danger of anything. Yeah, so you're not breaking 100%. You do get rid of the faction buff here, but again, it's like, you know, Protect goes up, Mass Heal goes down, and then faction buff is available. So it's not like you're actually stopping her from cycling skills. You're just removing one Mass Heal, right? There will be one, there's the potential that, you know, maybe he wants a Mass Heal but only gets a Mass Protect, which is like a very, very much an edge case for you to be committing this Ainz so hard. Especially when Ainz could have just been hanging out back here, threatening Dark Reaper on anyone who pushes up, right? Because like you have Ainz breezed, sitting here with Dark Reaper. So you can threaten, he can keep people from pushing up beyond his threat range now, because there's no Dragon Barrier. Next turn he can move up a little bit and then continue to try and threaten people out. It just seems like a massive commit. So I want to see what Bakyra's follow-up is to this, because right now I don't see it. Unless it was like hoping for heal blocks, which I guess is an option. Okay, jumping to get back in water. No. This Werner had 2 attack downs. It's just... Again, Werner's kills are usually, like... They might not be exact, but they're close when he has, you know, like, Twilight Star and isn't debuffed at all. So going in to a bulky troop like Bishop's with attack down, damage down, no Twilight Star or anything like that. It's Swordsmith mono class troops anyway, so Twilight isn't doing you any favors here, even if you did have it. I mean, you're just not getting any value out of this. This Werner just died. So now there are 2 units dead here. Sherry gets both of these kills and gets both of them safely. 1 and a 2. That Eins was fixed immune. That Eins has a swordsmith. I guess if your goal is to do AoEs. Yeah, this Licorice is not vulnerable to Twilight Star. It's holy. Because she's not running Sorks or Warlocks. She is running Bishops for this exact reason, to protect against potential Twilight Stars on Werner. And we do see it as a Twilight Star on the Kyra. Is Licorice really the threat here? Or is Kruger? Licorice is the target to pick if you have a bunch of AoEs to land, but you don't have AoEs to land. So you probably just want to attempt Kruger even if you don't think you can get it. Hello. Where are we going? Okay. That's a lot of damage. This Jugler is built lots of defensive stats with a faction buff, so yeah, that's a lot of damage. Hey look, Gizarov is participating. Goodbye, Kyra. Oh, people died, maybe Kyra can't reach. You're probably right. No, she still can. She has a breeze. Yeah, so she still could have attempted the Kruger. Yeah, and then this jump was another huge commit. Right, you're trying to get AoE damage on everyone, but at the same time, you're letting the Sherry run wild behind you. Obviously, you would have preferred to lock down the Sherry, right? That would have been better, but then you're not splashing the damage over here, so your jump's kind of wasted. Really, you just probably didn't want to jump here. Right, if Kyra could have picked the Kruger, then you can just kind of sit back with your Jugler. Right, Kyra's here, so she TP's away, and then you just kind of chill out for a little bit. Let Kyra try and reset. Maybe pick off this, pick off the Licorice who's still alive, etc. Hey, Michu, good to see you. But yeah. Instead, you jump here and you just lose your Kyra for nothing. Bye-bye. Sherry. It's going good, Mishu. I'm doing well. How about you? Just glad to have things to do again. There's the conceit. Alright. But that is game 1, so we're gonna switch over to game 2 now. Gonna hide the screen while we do that. Boop. Yeah, Sherry's really good, is kind of the general consensus. There's a lot of things that she can do, and she does all of them pretty well. Surviving Illustro is not one of the things that she can do. Yeah. She can survive many things, not Illustro. Okay, game 2. So we have Play Faster Please as player 1. Bakyra player 2, Windy Outpost. This is a fairly defensive map. If you're looking to stall, this is a good map to be on because there's so much defensive terrain right in the center where you want to be. Yeah, ban Illustro on this map for certain. There are no Illustros though, so thumbs up. Job done. Werner's very, very good on this map though, for the same reason that Illustro is. Yep, let's get into it. I imagine we'll see a very similar pick ban to game 1. The hope is that Bakyra doesn't go quite so heavy on the assassins, or if he does, that he changes his playstyle a little bit, because it looked like he was very used to playing kind of the AoE, a very heavy AoE rush style thing, is what the moves with like Ainz and Jugler were telling me, where he's used to all-inning with his AoE units one after another, and just splashing AoEs on his opponents repeatedly. But in the last game, he just did not have the comp to actually do that. And so, you know, the Ainz did nothing, and then the Jugler jumped after everyone was dead, and it did not work out well. Goodbye again, Vincent. We could kind of justify banning Vincent first in the last game because it was a sky map. I can't come up with a justification to ban Vincent first this game. I just can't. Again, this is a I don't know what this unit does ban. But the answer is he stands there and watches as you kill his team. So just don't ban him. Alright, mobility getting taken off of Playfasterpls' side. Akka for Bakyra. Yep, Reen's a good ban once Akka's been picked. See the Sherry again. Still going to be just as good into this box as it was before. Ares. I'm actually a little bit surprised this was Akka over Werner as the mobility support. Because again, Werner giving everyone that guerrilla movement on this map is super relevant because of all the defensive terrain in the middle. I personally prefer Werner over Akka as a support, just because it's really hard to work around Akka's 2-turn duration on her buffs. Yes, Sherry survives Kyra easily. Sherry even survives Kyra with Dark Elves without too much difficulty. Yeah, I personally prefer Werner over Akka most of the time, just because the 2-turn duration can be really hard to work around, especially when you have like an Ares, right? If you don't immediately engage with the Ares after using Akka buff, then you basically can't engage with the Ares. So, I don't know. I've always found it hard to use Akka, but then I don't have a lot of practice with her. So I'm sure Bakyra will do better than I would have. Bernhardt. Bernhardt basically denies Ares every kill that he could ever try to make, because AoE Ares is always close on kills, and Bernhardt makes him have less damage, so he no longer kills anything. That's a good defensive pick against the Ares. Licorice, once again as a pure healer. King of the Red Moon's going to give you some issues since you can't heal off that. But then Bernhardt just kills him if he engages. This Bernhardt's actually a very, very strong pick. Bozel. Is Bozel going to even get in this game? I feel like Bozel's going to just be miles away forever and is never going to be able to target anyone. Tree Sage. Rest in peace, Ares. You will be missed. Let's see. Steel mains make more sense here, since you expect single target on the Ares, and it is single target on the Ares. But with a Bernhardt here, this Jugler is basically never threatened no matter what troops you are. It is boots on the Bozel. You do have an Akka, so that is reasonably good mobility for this Bozel to actually do anything. But then there's also Tree Sage, so... And, I've seen King of Crimson, like, twice, so... We'll see if he's relevant. I have not seen him enough to have any real opinions on him. Okay, so it is Light Array first. I almost had a panic attack when I saw this Tree Sage make the first move, because I thought he was going to faction buff and then you were going to die to Ares. So, good for not faction buffing. Personally, I would still wait on this Tree Sage and see kind of where positioning happens, especially as player 1. If Bakyra sets up aggressively to go in, then you put down Light Array and you deny him that engage from wherever he's set up. But if he doesn't set himself up to go in, then you can just faction buff. Right? You can faction buff, you can have Light Array for next turn. And you can kind of, basically until this Akka uses Wild Power, you can just hold that Light Array. And then once Wild Power goes down, you Light Array to block out Ares and you're set. Because I believe it works this way with faction buff. I imagine it would work the same with Akka buff because it's higher quality than the 20% from 3C. If Ares has a buff at 1 turn remaining, so either Akka buff has 1 turn duration left, or faction buff has 1 turn duration left, and you click 3C, you do not get an attack buff. You will not get another attack buff back, and your Ares will be useless. I've seen it happen way too many times. It's very sad every time it happens. That's why, like, Ares is really hard to use with Akka, because if Akka buffs and then you end turn with Ares, you're not going in this turn and you cannot go in the next turn either. You must wait the next turn as well, because otherwise you will go in with no attack buff. So we'll see if that happens in this game, but that's always something to be careful of with Ares. If he's ever getting a buff from someone else, you need to be very careful of the duration of that buff. Or else you can end up 3C'ing and then not having an attack buff, and then you do no damage at all. Yeah, Bakyra needs to be very careful of the Sherry, and he's already not being very careful of the Sherry, so he's going to lose a lot of things to the Sherry. We saw this in the earlier game that we looked at with Bradicus and Self, and we talked about it then, and I'm going to talk about it again now. Tankless as player 2 is significantly harder, because you have to always be prepared for your opponent to take a unit like a Sherry or an Elwyn and just put them somewhere aggressively at the end of their turn. And if you don't have a unit left that can answer that immediately, then they just engage on you and they start trading at the start of the next turn. And they just start killing you at turn priority. So you have to either have a unit that can answer it no matter where they stand, or you need to have Act Again in order to stop them from just positioning aggressively and killing you at turn priority. It is very, very hard to do. Yeah, Michu mentioning the headgear. That is what this Sherry is wearing. It's Glory of the World. That's why she has her revive. When she gets attacked, she heals for 10%. So if someone with Star attacks her, Twilight Star procs, does its little bit of chip damage, and then she gets a 10% heal and goes back to 100%. It is very, very good. It's how you preserve last rites to stop assassins. There was a banner, it was a while ago. It was on banner with Unstoppable Knight, Prisoner's Gear, and I don't remember the name of the gear, but the skill is Defender of the People. The 20% damage reduction from all types. Yeah, like 2 months ago. Anyways, slight sidetrack. But yeah, so basically, as player 2 tankless, you have to play very, very carefully, very defensively. You have to you basically are going to be playing against the fog wall for almost the entire game, because you need to respect your opponent's range so incredibly much, because you have to respect that they can just move directly. They can move all the way forward at the end of their turn and then engage on the next turn. And if you're not prepared to deal with that, then they're just going to kill you off of it. I prefer Last Right's Sherry over Exclusive, just because it's so much more durable. Your offense can sometimes be a little bit frail if you're not at 100% with Rights. But the defensive value of Rights is exceptional. It is very, very hard to kill a Right Sherry. Exclusive Sherry that dies a lot quicker. So we're going to see if Playfaster Please just takes advantage of turn priority to absolutely murder Bakyra here. Yeah, Bakyra is positioning completely aggressively, which is, again, very, very hard to get away with. This Ares needs to go in this turn now. Does he reach? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2, 4, 7. This Ares does not reach this turn, and because Akka buffed him, he's no longer going to get an attack buff off of 3C, which means he can't go in next turn either. If this Ares goes in, he loses attack buff now. So if he goes in to try and pick this Jugler, he's going to be very, very disappointed. It's not going to end up being relevant. Yeah, Bakyra's being very aggressive here, but also Playfaster Please is letting him get away with it. Again, with turn priority, you can be a lot more aggressive with this Sherry, so like, there's no real need here, end of round 1, where the Sherry runs all the way away. The Sherry could easily, maybe you don't go all the way forward since there's an Ares threatening, but you can go like here. I guess you'd have to be confident that your Jugler lives the Ares, but I would be. Maybe you don't go here since that'd be out of Burn Aura, but like here, you're not gonna get punished for anything. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Not really threatening anything from there, but at the very least, you can stop your opponent from just all in running directly at you. Yeah, went for safety first, but I don't think you needed to be too worried about safety first here. I think you have the offensive pressure where you could have been a bit more aggressive. Okay, so we're going to trigger Revive there. And then Sherry's going to go kill someone else. Is that Akka actually threatening anything? Oh, thought I clicked pause. Ooh, Bernhardt's not dead yet. Here. I guess she was, but Michu, I know you did a bunch of testing with this and you found that Akka 3C just didn't kill. It is steel mains, it is broken right, so maybe it actually would kill in this scenario. I guess you don't have magic guard either. Does this count as a No, it's physical damage, so you're still guarding with Triton. Because you could have... The Sherry could have run over and picked off, like, Ainz to stop some of the AoEs coming in. Akka didn't feel like the right pick here. So Bakyra was hoping to pick off the Bernhardt here, doesn't quite get it. Heal comes out, and now it's like nothing ever happened. Goodbye, Sherry. That is a star on that Ares. What? Why does the Ares have a Twilight Star and the Werner doesn't? What? Alright, I'm a little confused by that tech. I guess it means you can be a lot more confident attacking into Jugler. Why Orb? Yeah. Comically, this still actually fails to kill with the initial hit. Sherry is just that incredibly bulky. But the sweep's plenty to pick it up. Yeah, I mean, if you want to be more confident in picking Jugler, then I guess Twilight Star makes sense, but boy, that still feels odd. I imagine we're playing around Bozal range here, yes. Kind of. We're attempting to. Some good debuffs, but it's too little too late. And yeah, that's the end. So basically what happened at the end of the game there, right, with Sherry running out, taking a bunch of kills, and then Bakyra not having the damage left anymore to break through after that. That exact same scenario is what would have happened if you had played more aggressively in the early game, right? If you had positioned the Sherry more aggressively to pick up kills earlier, you'd be in that exact same scenario, but you wouldn't have given your opponent the attempt to... you wouldn't have given your opponent the opportunity to hit you with all these AoEs to potentially cripple you. Instead, you would have just killed them proactively, rather than giving them the opportunity to hit you with everything they had, and then it didn't end up being enough. You could have been very proactive going after them, and it still would have been plenty safe. And yeah, on Bakyra's side, he was definitely way too over-eager to jump in both games, really. He could have been a little bit slower to engage in there, because he just ended up running all of his units directly into Sherry range, directly into Bernhardt range. Sherry is good against AoEs because basically all the AoE characters can't kill her with single target, is one thing. She doesn't take much damage from the AoEs, is another thing. And she outranges a lot of them as well. So it's very easy, the same way that Elwyn can just like run off to the side of the map and then threaten the enemy team and they can't do anything about it, Sherry can do a very similar thing. She doesn't take a lot of damage because Rights protects her, troops aren't going to take much damage if it's magical AoEs, which at least currently, most of the AoEs are magical. And yeah, if too much happens to her, then she can just run away and heal. It's very hard for a lot of the AoE units to engage onto her safely as well, because she has so much mobility. So I don't think she's a hard counter to AoEs, but she's good into AoEs in the same way that bulky single target DPS are all good into AoEs. By outranging them, playing away from the team, and having built-in mechanics to make them be able to stand on their own. All right, but that is going to be it for this. So if you're watching on YouTube, thanks for checking it out. There are other game reviews in a playlist somewhere. Check them out if that sounds interesting to you. I'll see you next time.